Republican Congresswoman Beth Van Duyne of Irving, thank you so much, and welcome back to Eye on
Hey,
Politics.
thank you. It's good to be back.
Obviously, I want to start with just the horrific flooding that we have
Yeah.
seen in Central Texas take place during the holiday weekend. I know the state the state legislature is going to be discussing this and addressing this and the response. I'm wondering,
Yeah.
in your mind, is there a role for Congress to play in this, if least if not hearings? At least as far as perhaps funding for any emergency alert projects that could be out there.
Look, I worked for HUD. I worked for Secretary Carson during the first Trump administration when Hurricane Harvey happened, and I remember what it's like. I mean, immediately you start gathering together your local, your state, and your federal offices, your agencies that can respond to that crisis. So right now, the local and the state are the ones who are heading this up. That's where you want it to be headed. They know the folks involved. They know the streets. They know where the most help is needed. The federal government is there in a support capacity. We need to continue to stay that way. But I think the wonderful thing is that you've got a governor that's got such a strong relationship with the president and a president who has shown absolute support.
Let me ask you this, because I
Yeah.
know there's been a lot of finger pointing on social media about cuts to the Weather Service. I went back and I looked at the alerts myself, and there was documentation that the National Weather Service did put the alerts out, warning people. The question is, did anybody receive them? And so the other question I think that's
Yeah.
out there is, I know there's been discussion of DOGE and cutting the federal government expenditures, the National Weather Service, even FEMA. After this, given what's happened, does there need to be a second look at that? So maybe instead of cutting, maybe you keep where the levels where they are, maybe you have to add.
I think, quite honestly, if you looked at the number of people that were working for the NWS, the National Weather Service, at that time, there was more than enough. They were all ramped up actually because of 4th of July. So I don't know that this is the number of people, that were responding to this. I think always, whenever you see this type of a tragedy, you're going to second guess and figure out what you can do better in the future. We need to do that. But the fact is, if you've watched some of the time um, the time videos of how quickly this happened and the number of minutes that they had to be able to respond, and you don't know when this is going to happen before it happens. And the occurrence of both of those weather systems coming in, the massive amount of rain, how quickly, what, 20, 30 feet in a number of hours. I don't know how we could possibly have responded in the way that we needed to without additional information beforehand, which it's a natural occurrence. This is an act of God. It was horrific what happened, but we're going to go back and we're going to look at how we could do better. But quite honestly, I think everybody wants to. Well, not everybody, but there are a few people right out there right now who are finger pointing. I think it's grotesque. I think it's inhumane. I think it's hateful. It does not help anyone, and they're just trying to get cheap political points at the expense of people's lives. And I think it's wrong.
I want to ask you about President Trump's quote, "One big beautiful bill." You voted for it last week. Why do you
Yeah.
think this is going to be good for the country?
Look, I think we had our backs up against the wall with these tax cuts that were from 2017 that were set to expire. You've had small businesses from around the country, every industry, every district that were begging us if we might have to close our doors if these tax cuts are not extended. So there was something for everyone in this bill. We were helping our small businesses and our working families. We increased our child tax credit. We increased the amount of the guaranteed deduction. We helped seniors by giving an additional $5,000 of tax cuts. You helped working families, by looking at those pass-throughs for some of their small businesses. In addition, we're giving Tom Homan and Christy Noman the support that they need to continue their work at the border to make sure that we have a secure border. We also looked at American energy production, and we looked at pulling back on some of the regulations that were strangling our American energy producers. All of those things I think are positives. In addition, we're also looking at manufacturing, recognizing the fact that what went through during COVID, we don't ever want to do again, and whether or not it's looking at pharmaceuticals or whether or not it's looking at just chips for our electronics. We want to make sure that they're produced here. So there's a lot of incentives for our manufacturing folks to make sure that they're moving from being across the country or across the planet, to making sure that we're having those produced in America. So there was something for everybody in this bill. Now, it's also just a first step. You had a number of us who were irritated by the fact that we're not cutting spending enough in areas that we absolutely could. And that's going to be something that with a rescissions package that's going to be coming from the White House that we're going to be able to address, looking at our appropriations, looking at our budget, and looking at a second reconciliation package coming up later this year is something that we're going to be getting started on as soon as we get back to DC next week.
So there's talk of another reconciliation
Yep.
package
Mhm.
instead of just going through a normal budget process of
I
where
think
you've
I
got
think
the
you can do
12
both.
spending bills. Okay.
Yeah, I think you can do both. I think you can do both. But part of the reconciliation package is going to be looking at another tax bill, and it's also going to be looking at our spending. It's also going to be looking at some of the programs that we've got out there, ones that we need and ones that we desperately need to save, such as Medicaid. Medicaid was created to help those folks who are in real rough, tough times. And what's happened is it's been extended and expanded so much that, the original people who are in need of that program won't be able to have it because it's not sustainable with the expanse that it's had. So we're moving back on not we are not cutting for people who deserve and who need to be on that program. But what we are saying is if you are a working age and you are working an able body, we need to get you off that program and we need to get you to be in a position where you're either volunteering, you're studying to become have work policies, have work skills that can get you trained, that can get you a job or get a job. And these are not things that I think common sense people were against. In fact, I'd say the majority of Americans want able-bodied people at work and not on entitlement programs. If you are in our country illegally, you should not be on these entitlement programs. So I think, we have a lot of additional cleanup that we can do to address the waste, fraud, and abuse that have been identified, by the Doge efforts. But there's a lot that we are able to do. I just don't want people to get the wrong idea that this bill was like the one and only. We've got a lot of things that we can do from now to the end of this year.
And so this is being talked about right now, this second
Yeah.
reconciliation bill. And when
Well, it's
do
been being talked about, for several months now. I think Speaker Johnson's talked about it. I know Congressman or Jason Smith, who was our chairman of Ways and Means, has been talking about it. So again, that will happen between sometime now and the end of the year.
and just going back to the Medicaid cuts, the Congressional Budget Office
Yeah.
says that nearly 12 million people are going to lose Medicaid coverage by 2034 with these, the cuts to the growth of Medicaid in that time period, $930 billion in cuts. That's a lot of people.
Well, again, these are folks who hopefully are able-bodied Americans who we can get some trade skills that we can actually get back on the rolls where they are making income and helping to pay taxes and not just taking entitlement programs from those who need it the most. These programs have been expanded so much that they're no longer helping those who need the help. They're helping people who quite honestly should be incentivized to be able to get jobs and not stay home. And that's what we've seen.
And then just as far as the Congressional Budget Office saying
Yeah.
that this first reconciliation package is going to add 3.3, 3.4 trillion to
Yeah.
deficits. What do you say to that? Because that's a big concern for a lot of people.
Yeah, I don't think that they're taking into account the growth in the economy that we're going to look at. And if you look at the CBO's rating and how they have typically scored Republican bills, it's been pathetic. Good, perfect examples of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017 and where they scored that. How they said that that was actually going to cost billions, trillions of dollars, and it did the exact opposite. It was a jump start to the economy. We do not want to go into a recession, and in order to do that, you have to have tax tax policies, tax programs that actually help working Americans, small businesses, and our corporations to be able to compete globally. And that is exactly what this bill does. So I look at the CBO rating and I just shake my head, because what we're trying to do is really jumpstart the economy. We have an opportunity to do that. I think this bill is a great first step in ensuring that.
I want to ask you about 2026 briefly, and then I want to ask you
Yeah.
about the job fair coming up. But
Yeah.
I keep hearing your name mentioned in 2026 running for U.S. Senate. So do you want to address that? Is that something you're
You
considering?
know, I think ever since I got into city council, people have talked about one thing that I'm running for or another. And basically, when I'm in a position, this is what I'm focused on. And right now, again, I am focused on getting this rescission package. I'm on Ways and Means, I'd say is the most influential. It's the most powerful committee in Congress. We have got a lot to do with this next tax package going on. And people are going to talk about others running for office. While I appreciate their support, right now I'm focused on being the congressional representative for District 24. We've got a lot to do, starting with our great job fair. And it's coming up August 7th. And I'm so excited about that.
So tell me about this, because you have
Yeah.
been holding this and sponsoring, leading this job fair for several years
Yeah.
already. So talk to me
Yeah.
about the scope. How many employers do you have? How many people are you expecting?
If it's any idea like we've had it the last few years, it is going to be huge. And I suggest people get there early. It's going to be at Globe Life Field. It's August 7th, starting at 11 a.m. Get there early. It's going to be from 11 to 3 o'clock. Last year, we had over 500 businesses that participated. They represented about 22,000 jobs. About 30% of the jobs were $100,000 and above offerings. So these are not just, entry level. It's something for everyone there. What we do is we partner with our chambers. We partner with our elected representatives. I don't care if you are independent, if you are a Democrat, if you are a Republican. We want to help the community. We want people to be able to get jobs, and we want businesses to be able to hire. This is one of the reasons why we are flourishing in North Texas and why so many businesses are moving here. But we are really excited this year. We've actually had more interest than we even did last year. So this is a response to the needs that we see in the community. What businesses have been telling me, they're having a hard time hiring. So we're trying to get them, the applicants that they need. And when you talk to people, they're like, look, we want to have more opportunities. We want to be able to get paid better. We want to have more flexibility. We want to have better benefits. And so I think this is something for everyone. And again, it's going to be August 7th from 11 to 3 at Globe Life Field, and get there early.
And let me ask you, because what's the placement rate, success rate been, when people go to these in the past? I mean,
Yeah.
are all, I mean, what I mean, are all these jobs filled?
Well, we have heard from businesses that this is the best fair that they've ever been to. And this is the reason why we continue doing it. It is a lot of work. The logistics, involved in putting together something of this scope is massive. But we do it because all the businesses that are involved in it say this is phenomenal for them. And for people who have gotten jobs, some who have been going, for months and months and months without employment, who go and they can find the perfect job that they're looking for, we hear from them as well. And it's these stories that make us do this every year. And it's also these stories that we're able to talk to our colleagues around North Texas and say, get involved, help us. Whether or not you are a mayor, put this out. The chambers put this out. Help us advertise this. And it doesn't cost anybody except our office. It's free to participate. It's free to be a business and come and participate, and it's free to be someone looking for a job and come and apply. So again, this is just something that we are trying to do. We don't have to have an act of Congress to do it. Our office is handling all the logistics. We just want to be successful.
Last question, and that is, I mean, our
Yeah.
businesses are hiring, right? I mean, and are these North Texas
Absolutely.
businesses? Because we have seen the reports. I mean, the last
Yeah.
jobs report came out, more people were hired, but there was also a lot of government spending on government
Yeah.
hiring.
Yeah.
And the amount of private sector hiring was down a little bit. So talk to me about that. People are in fact hiring, at least here.
Yeah, we are seeing folks from, we are seeing businesses from around the world that are locating and moving their headquarters to North Texas because we've got such a thriving market. The policies, the programs, the environment that the government has with these businesses is conducive to business, whether or not it's looking at a regulatory environment or our taxing environment. But we also have people that want to get jobs, and we've got such a flourishing economy in North Texas. They are absolutely hiring. What we saw over the last 4 years under the Biden administration was the majority of jobs were in the government sector. That's no longer the case. Businesses now are invested in this country. They're investing further in Texas, and they are hiring. So I encourage everybody to come out. There's going to be something for everybody. Every industry pretty much is hiring, is going to have a seat at the table on August 7th at Globe Life Field from 11 to 3. So get your resumes ready. Have plenty of copies made. Get there early and come find a job.
We will leave it there. North Texas Congresswoman Beth Van Duyne, thank you so much as always. We
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Jack. It was great to see you.